Humanitarian workers think in terms of needs, logistics, coordination, standards, funding, and, above all, planning. Rigorous planning, based on data, consultations, and technical frameworks, but planning nonetheless, a design formulated at the top and implemented at the bottom. Many professionals in the sector are aware of this tension. They know that, and even with community participation, the final structure of an intervention does not arise from the individual decisions of those who receive it. And yet, they rarely consider that the study of the logic of human action might offer a radically different way of understanding how a society organizes itself, and therefore, how a crisis could be addressed. In the Austrian school of economics, economics is not about mathematical models or macroeconomic aggregates, nor is it a tool for quantitative forecasting. It is something much simpler and much deeper, the study of how ordinary people, each with their own preferences and with the information they have, decide what to do with their time, their money, and their effort to improve their situation. Eat better, protect their family, repair a roof, find shelter, rebuild a damaged home, reopen a small shop, buy stock again, replace lost tools, change jobs, migrate, send a child to school, access healthcare, pay off a debt, switch crops after a drought, invest in livestock, hire a neighbor, share transport costs, move to a safer area, start over. For Austrians, all of society arises from there, from millions of individual decisions coordinating without anyone directing them. To buy or not to buy, to spend today or save for tomorrow, to buy tools or food, to pay a debt or keep cash for medicine, to sell livestock or hold on a little longer, to rebuild a shop or look for day labor, to share what you have or protect your own household, to stay in the village or move to the city, to migrate or try to start again where you are, to try something new when what existed before no longer works. That coordination is not chaotic. It is spontaneous order. It is the result of voluntary exchanges guided by prices. The market is not a place or an ideology. It is the space where free people, acting peacefully, exchange and discover solutions that no one had designed. It is a continuous creative process. And that spontaneous coordination is infinitely superior to any central planning, because no planner, no matter how informed or well-intentioned, can concentrate the dispersed knowledge that exists in millions of minds. From this perspective, so-called market failures do not exist. What exist are mismatches, situations in which prices reveal that something is scarce or that something is abundant. And those mismatches are signals. They are opportunities for whoever is willing to solve the problem by offering better goods or services. For Austrians, price is not an arbitrary number. It is condensed information. When something is scarce, the price rises, and that increase attracts new suppliers, mobilizes resources, corrects the shortage, and the price falls again. When something is abundant, the price falls and resources shift toward more valued uses. No one needs to order, produce more bread, or fewer shoes. The system adjusts itself because the only way to obtain profit is by solving other people's problems. And interfering in that process, by capping prices upward or blocking them downward, does not correct the mismatch. It worsens it. The signal is eliminated, the incentive is blocked, and shortages or misallocation of resources are generated. The market is us. Our decisions, our relationships, our ability to adapt when the environment changes. What for some is a problem, for others is an opportunity. As simple as that. Economics is ordinary people managing their lives. And social order is not designed. It emerges. For the Austrian school, society is not built from the top down. It is not the product of a master plan designed by experts. It is the result of millions of decentralized decisions taken by people trying to improve their situation in changing contexts. Now let us translate this into our work. What changes in needs assessment, in design, in implementation, and in project evaluation? Let's go phase by phase. In a typical response, we conduct a rapid assessment, collect data, identify priority needs, and design a project. We define what goods to deliver, in what quantities, for how long, and to whom. We have to act. But the problem is believing that with that initial snapshot, we understand everything. The information we collect is limited, punctual, and aggregated. It does not capture the real diversity of priorities, nor how they may change in 2 weeks, nor what each family values most. Moreover, the context begins to change as soon as we intervene. Our presence alters prices, wages, expectations, and behaviors. The environment we measured is no longer the same when we begin to implement. And even if 2 families have suffered the same loss, they do not necessarily prioritize the same things. One may need immediate liquidity to pay debts. Another may want to reopen a small business. Another may seek stability for their children. That diversity rarely fits into a standard package. If we accept that, the design cannot be rigid. We cannot decide in advance the exact solution we are going to develop. Instead, we must create space so that during project implementation, people can continue making decisions and revealing what they actually need. In this way, instead of designing a closed and overly specific outcome, we design an intervention flexible enough to adapt to what people actually do and prioritize in practice. In implementation, we enter even more delicate terrain. We are no longer observing the system, we are entering it. Many times we replace the local market. We bring goods from outside, distribute them for free, pay wages higher than those that already exist, or set up parallel supply chains. We do this with good intentions. But each of those decisions changes behaviors and expectations. If we give away what others sell, those others disappear. If we pay much more, we shift labor away from productive activities toward a subsidized sector. If we ignore prices, we ignore the information that tells us where real scarcity lies. Improving assistance does not mean intervening less. It means intervening in a way that does not destroy the local capacity to adjust or block the mechanisms that are already trying to reorganize. Buy through local traders whenever possible. Transfer money instead of standardized goods. Do not block prices when they rise. Avoid creating structures that no one will be able to sustain once we leave. In general terms, the interventions most aligned with this approach are those that expand people's capacity to exchange rather than replace it. Direct cash distributions, initiatives that support and reactivate local markets, procurement from local or regional suppliers, the removal of barriers to trade and mobility, the restoration of critical infrastructure and communications, and actions designed from the outset with a clear exit strategy and early withdrawal in mind. In this sense, a well-designed and well-implemented cash transfer program, together with the rigorous application of MERS standards, is largely aligned with this way of understanding intervention. The same applies to approaches that embrace adaptive programming, that think in terms of a development continuum and of what will remain once we leave, and that deliberately strengthen the resilience of local systems rather than substitute them. By contrast, some common practices move in the opposite direction. Imposing price controls after a disaster to stop speculation. Designing rigid donor-funded projects that leave little room for adjustment. Treating profit or trade as something suspicious, or turning accountability into a bureaucratic exercise that produces procedures without real decision-making power. Fair trade schemes go even further in this direction. By guaranteeing higher prices or protected access to markets, they disconnect production from real demand and real competition. Families are encouraged to depend on arrangements that only function as long as external support continues. When that support ends, they are left vulnerable. And by labeling certain exchanges as fair, they imply that ordinary voluntary trade is not, weakening the competitive process that allows people to adapt and improve their situation over time. However well-intentioned, these approaches weaken the signals and incentives that allow recovery to happen through decentralized action. The question that helps us make this concrete is not new and is in fact very familiar. Are we solving a problem, or are we creating a new one without realizing it? In evaluation, we measure real impact. People assisted, diseases treated, incomes restored, homes rebuilt, and we must continue to do so. But alongside those direct results, we should also measure something else. Did local markets reactivate? Did exchanges resume without our intermediation? Did dependence on external aid decrease? Can we withdraw without everything coming to a halt? Yes, we think in terms of needs, logistics, coordination, standards, funding, and planning. And that is precisely why humanitarian responses save lives and address the most urgent and visible needs. Rigorous planning, solid needs assessments, and technical standards allow us to design strong projects that work. But if we add this perspective, if we understand how people's decisions coordinate in real life, our interventions can become more sustainable and more responsive to the diversity of situations people actually face. We will still plan. We will still assess. We will still deliver. But we will do so in a way that strengthens people's own capacity to adjust, to exchange, and to recover. Because people already know how to organize their lives. Our role is not to replace that process. It is to allow it to function again.